This is Horror Podcast.
Welcome to This is Horror, a podcast for readers, writers, and creators. I'm Michael David Wilson, and every episode alongside my co-host Bob Pastorella, we chat with the world's best writers about writing, life lessons, creativity, and much more. Today is another special Daddy's Boy episode. Although the next few episodes, they're kind of Daddy's Boy tangential, because what it is it's me and Bob talking to people who blurbed Daddy's Boy, writers who perhaps if you enjoy their work, you might enjoy my work, specifically Daddy's Boy. And today, oh my goodness, it's the world's most flammable writer. It is Danger Slater. He's the author of a variety of books, including Starlet, House of Rot, I Will Rot Without You, Puppet Skin, and He Digs a Hole. I love Danger Slater, both as a person and as a writer. He does such interesting things, and perhaps of all the writers, it's him that I feel kind of the deepest kinship in terms of just putting out this absurd and this bizarre work. So this conversation, we were originally going to be talking about absurdism. We do talk about that, but we go in all sorts of directions. It was a fun one to have. I hope it's a fun one to listen to. But before we get into that, a quick advert break.
A brutal attack during a peaceful drive through the Irish countryside sets the stage for a grotesque tale of body horror, medical abuse, and occult conspiracy theory. Puppet's Banquet by Valkyrie LaCrue. Clay McLeod Chapman calls it a blissful injury upon the reader's psyche. Fans of Silent Hill, Hellraiser, and Cronenberg's The Brood will be consumed by its exquisite nightmares. Puppet's Banquet, out May 14th. Visit tenebraspress.com for more information.
It was as if the video had unzipped my skin, slunk inside my tapered flesh, and become one with me.
From the creator of This is Horror comes a new nightmare for the digital age, The Girl in the Video by Michael David Wilson. After a teacher receives a weirdly arousing video, his life descends into paranoia and obsession. More videos follow, each containing information no stranger could possibly know. But who's sending them, and what do they want? The answers may destroy everything and everyone he loves. The Girl in the Video is The Ring meets Fatal Attraction for the iPhone generation. Available now in paperback, ebook, and audio.
Okay, here it is. We're talking absurdism with Danger Slater on This is Horror. Danger, welcome back to This is Horror.
Yes, thank you for having me back again. So soon after the last appearance, too. So
yeah, I think before it had been multiple years, and this time it's been about 4 months, so a considerably quicker turnaround.
Next time it's going to be 1 month. Then I'm going to be the host of the show.
That's kind of how it was with Bob. Like, you know, I interviewed Bob, then he was the guest host. And then
I was
he
a
became
guest host.
Yeah, you were the guest host, then you became the permanent host. So, yeah, maybe we should just start calling it This is Danger.
I'm into it.
Yeah, the only problem is if you ever stop hosting, then it all falls apart because it's like, this isn't Danger.
Yeah, you'll just change the name of the show. This isn't Danger.
Yeah, okay, so we've got a plan. Fantastic.
This isn't Danger with Michael David Wilson and Bob Pastorella.
Yeah. So, I mean, in the last 4 months, what have been the highlights? What have been the lowlights? Give us your review.
Of life?
Of anything. I mean,
God, I don't
writing.
I don't know. Nothing. It feels like nothing can happen in 4 months, especially with writing. Like you could finish a whole book, but like it's not like it's published yet, So it's like I don't know. Maybe I'm editing things. Like I'm just kind of. This happens when my mom calls me and she's like, "Oh, how's the writing going?" I'm like, "I'm super busy and also have nothing to report." Like it's there's like you're kind of in this gray zone 90% of the time. Until the moment comes when the book is actually coming out.
Yeah, so I'm inadvertently giving you kind of flashbacks of like, is this mum? Is this mum on the
Yeah.
call? Why are you
Um,
asking me these questions? Are you gonna tell me that you've ordered a Guinness Book of Records to my house next?
Are you going to ask me if I'm eating good? Are you going to wonder when I'm visiting next?
The only thing, as we established in the previous time you were on, that I will ask about food is about Kit Kats. That is now the
Yeah.
only kind of dietary concern that I have.
It's slowed down for me. I haven't tried any new ones in the past 4 months. Like the thing is, like we had our a place called Uwajimaya in town, which has all the flavors. It's a Japanese market, big one, and so they have rotating flavors coming in and stuff. But we've been there so many times doing that they are not getting anything new in at this point. Like every flavor that is coming is here. I've tried all the ones that I could possibly try in this country of America.
Do you periodically go in and inquire if they've got anything imported? And they're like, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, I go, what do you got in the back room? Give me the secret ones. Give me the secret Kit Kats.
The off-menu Kit Kats.
Yeah. The ones where the two Kit Kats are fucking and they make like an unholy hybrid Kit Kat. Give me that. Give me the baby. I want to eat that.
Oh, no. I like it. And I mean, so, in terms of the writing,
Yeah.
you said you could have written a novel in the last 4 months. Did
Yeah.
you? Did you write a novel in the last 4 months?
Yeah, I think I forgot when did we talk last? It was January, right?
It was around then, yeah. I think it's that I'm saying 4 months, but it's slightly lazy hand because I think the episode came out in January, so I've
Right.
looked at that. But
Well, I finished whatever I was talking about then, and I'm on something else entirely. So it I just needed like a hard line because that happened at the end of January.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we were talking about Army Hammer and Starlet and
Oh yeah.
cannibalism, celebrity, all the normal topics that we get people on to talk about.
I would imagine cannibalism comes up on This Is Horror more often than like This American Life or Radio Lab or something like that.
Well, I mean, funnily enough, I brought it up in the first 10 minutes of the last episode that we recorded with
Right.
Jasper Bark, where we were, going deep on Daddy's Boy, because Dan Howarth asked me what I'd been reading recently, and I'd been reading the short story collection Life Ceremonies by Sayaka Murata, and the titular story is basically in this world where people now eat human flesh. That's kind of what you do. So we're 2 for 2 now. We need to make sure that we get the hat trick on cannibalism.
I was thinking the other day about cannibalism, and I was thinking like people don't eat meat because of ethical reasons, right? They don't want animals to suffer. They don't agree with factory farming, what have you. There's these ethical concerns that keep people from doing that. And most people aren't going to willingly like let you eat them themselves. Like, so you can't ethically eat another human being, but you could eat yourself ethically. So you can self cannibalize, and it's like, you're not getting right with or you're not getting wrong with Buddha if you're doing that. Like it's good, it's fine. Like, and I was thinking if you cloned like your own arm, you could just eat your own arm indefinitely. Like, just keep cloning it, you know?
I feel since there are people that have literally volunteered to be eaten by other people, I mean, I'm specifically thinking about the Rammstein song Mein Tool, which is about a German gentleman who put out an advert for somebody to essentially come around and literally eat his penis, his tool. Well, if there are people who are prepared to do that, there must be people who have been like, look, I'm just gonna cut off the tip of the finger. I'm just gonna like saute that in some butter, some onions, a bit of garlic. I think rosemary would go really well just to finish that dish.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm giving too many details. It's like this isn't confessional, but
sounds like you know the recipe already, sir.
yeah, I've got the human flesh recipe.
It depends on like, and I'm gonna if you haven't seen Yellow Jackets,
No, I haven't.
No, me neither.
or read Survivor Type by Stephen King, which is to me the ultimate basically the ultimate self cannibalism story. When you're starving, the smell of cooked flesh is undeniably overwhelming. And it is something that you will probably find yourself unable to stop, because one, you're starving, and two, it's a primal thing. It's foop. It's like, oh, that's food, you know. And with Survivor Type, that was, I don't know if you've ever read the story Danger. It's about a guy who's kind of nefarious guy. He gets in a plane, crashes a single engine plane with a stash of drugs. And while he's starving on this island, he inadvertently breaks his ankle while trying to capture a bird to eat. And he's got a little medical background and decides that after a while, it's like, hey, this ankle ain't really doing that good, so I should go ahead and just amputate. And since I'm going to amputate, I might as well, go ahead and eat something nourishing, And it goes from there and turns into basically a nightmare. So yeah, there's your self cannibalism. It's just I don't recommend it based upon that story.
You pretty much sold me on it until you said nightmare. I was like, all right, you're like, it's undeniable, it's good. I'm like, okay, I'm fucking curious. I need to know now. But then you're like, no, he's in a drug haze and it's horrible. So maybe I don't want to eat myself.
Yeah, he basically concocts this over like a diary. So he writes this exploits, and he's so whacked out of it by the end. It's like February 40th, and the last entry says ladyfingers taste just like ladyfingers. Yeah, so it's like you're kind of wondering, oh, I wonder what happened. Well, I think I know what happened.
And I like that you said it turns into a nightmare after the point that, he's amputated himself. So for you, Bob, that it wasn't a nightmare at that point, but then after.
Yeah. It was actually a joyful story.
It's about a guy getting a really good meal. Like, what's not to like? It sounds good to me.
Yeah.
So this whole other podcast is about cannibalism, and now this one is too, I guess.
This podcast is about us describing to you the previous podcast, because we thought that would make incredibly good entertainment.
Oh wow!
But the thing is, anything we do here, because the topic is writing the absurd, if we do something absurd like describing in great detail the previous podcast, it feels like there's a kind of poetry to it. I don't know if there'll be many listeners to it, but it does seem apropos.
That is a professional segue, sir. Great job. Great job bringing us back around. Thank you.
However, I mean, in terms of writing the absurd and writing things outside of, I suppose, conventional genre norms, I mean, how would you even describe what it is you're writing? Because I feel that, like, your work, it doesn't fit into a neat genre box. Is it horror? Is it bizarro? Is it WTF? If WTF is a genre, then how does that distinguish from bizarro?
Right.
What do you say, or do you don't begin to?
Well, I've keep having these like personal reckonings with like genre specifically because yes, I'm a bizarre writer and I'm a horror writer and and I write absurd stuff and surrealism and all this other stuff, but like I feel like none of them are right, like capturing it right. Like nothing's capturing it right, especially when I think of horror and stuff. And I think people have a very specific expectation sometimes when they go into a book, and the publishers will try to market it in ways that they'll think people will be interested in, which sometimes is promising something that I'm not delivering. And you can always see the two types of people like if you check out your own reviews or you could see the people who go, this is fucking brilliant, love it, gave me something I'd never seen before, and other people going, this is, what the fuck was this, absolute trash, like I don't get it, what a waste of time. Like, and it's like always these polar extremes. So like I'm always like, how do I explain it in a way that's going to make people feel surprised by what they're getting, but also kind of gives them what they expected in a way that they aren't disappointed by reading it. So yeah, I'm like genre. I'm lost in genre right now. I'm lost in these terms. I don't really know. I like absurdism though.
Yeah,
That's
I
why
mean,
we're here. So that's a great term. And satire too. Absurdism and satire. With
yeah,
body horror.
right. And the difficulty is, I mean, I find particularly kind of like with the marketing and the so-called selling of the book, because it is kind of, let's say, in this absurd realm, like that there isn't a publisher who is doing absurd fiction. There are publishers that have taken on absurd books, but there's not like an absurd category in the library or in the bookstore. So it does make, yeah, the marketing and the selling very difficult. And I kind of sense that both of us in the last few months have almost gone through a bit of a crisis of just like, what are we even doing? Because I've certainly had that, particularly at the start of this year. And I know that you put out a kind of similar post on Instagram with similar sentiments. So, I mean, I wonder if you think about your writing, like what are your aims at the moment, and how are you approaching your writing?
Oh my god, that feels like the biggest question in the world. Okay, I I just like the thing that I value in art. The thing that I want is to feel surprised, to feel something more than what I came for. Like my books feel very much like, and I know this. I know that I'm doing something that is unique to me, and I think a lot of writers do this. You know, you have your niche that you kind of fall in and stuff, and your voice and everything like that. But like, I'm kind of like just following the muse, I guess. You know, like I have a feeling. I mean, I have endless ideas. So it's really about finding of this miasma of ideas, the one that captures how I'm personally feeling on the inside, and that I'm able to use to kind of express something to the world, you know, and maybe not necessarily like it's a vehicle for my own point of view, but it is something maybe I want to explore. and I'm interested in. And picking that idea out of all the ideas is kind of like where I'm at. Like, I'm working on a Western right now, which is like not something I typically would do. You know, like I don't think people would expect that from me, which is part of why I want to do it. But it's also like, it ain't like, it starts in like 1868, but like very quickly you realize this is not the 1868 that we all experienced as a human race, 150 years ago. Like, this is a whole new version of the West where things are going to be very unpredictable in ways that, the book isn't going to necessarily tell you up front. Again, because people are going to look at the genre and go, oh, horror Western. And then they're going to start reading it and going, what the fuck is this all about? Like, this is not either of those things right now.
I think a lot of the pitfalls that we see is that we tend to, as writers, because, a lot of times we are kind of like, the original marketers of our work, and we use genre, and sometimes that can be a pitfall. In the 90s, Jeannie Cavalos was the editor at Dell, and she was getting submissions that didn't fit the tropes of horror. Didn't know what to do with them. She was like, I'm getting these fantastic stories. Don't know what genre they're in. And so instead of using the word genre, she described a kind of horror, and she called it cutting edge horror. And so when she was pitching this to the executives at Dell, she said, this is cutting edge. And that's the word that she used. And she formed the Dell Abyss line, which is, when you read a Dell Abyss book, which, golly, I wish they were still around, but you knew what you were getting. And part of that was you were unable to describe what you were getting. And to me, I think that's kind of like a brilliant marketing tactic, because it's like, well, what genre is it? It's horror. I mean, well, what subgenre? It's not. It's cutting edge horror. It doesn't follow any of the conventional rules. And so when reading like a Danger Slater book or even a Michael David Wilson book, you're not following conventional rules. So that is a really cool thing, but also it's a pitfall, because marketers hate that shit. They want things to be in neat little categories. And so that's where we, it's like, hey, what do you do? It's hard to explain it, because you don't have a terminology for it. If that does, I don't know if I'm making any kind of sense, but
no, you are.
It's really, really hard to explain it. I've got ideas that I want to do, an antiquity, adventure, cosmic, post-apocalyptic. What the fuck do you call it? It's like, well, I don't know. It's going to be wild. If I could pull it off, it's going to be like Heavy Metal Magazine come to fucking life, But I know Michael's already smiling. He's like,
Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh, it's science fiction horror. Yes. I mean, it's like, what do you call it? There's not a name for it. Marketers are going to hate that. Well, we got to come up with a name. And it's like, okay, that's your job.
And it's hard, because you as just the landscape of being an independent writer, an independent artist, like, you have to evangelize your own book more than anybody. You have to be your biggest marketer, even when you're working with a publisher. Even if you're working with a big publisher, you still need to do that. Like, and the thing is, like, there's a part of me, or the biggest part of me, when people are like, oh, what's your book about? I just want to be like, I don't know, man, just fucking read it. Like, just read it. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, it's good. I don't know what to say. Like, it obviously that's not plausible if you're trying to sell a book, but that's the inclination that I have. It's just like, I don't know. Like, and if I try to put it in a box, it feels reductive to me.
Right. It's like trying to explain what genre, William Burroughs is, or J.G. Ballard. It's like, what genre is that? It's fucking Burroughs. That's the name of the genre, It's Naked Lunch. It's Interzone. I don't know what to tell you. It's Word Virus, it's like, golly, I want to tap into that vein.
Yeah.
And I just feel like, as creatives, we want to do that. As marketers, there's that there's a big voice in your head going, don't fucking do that. Don't do it, because you can't describe what it is. It's undescribable. They're not gonna like that. Whoever they are, they're not gonna like that because you can't describe it. Well, what is it? It's like, other than just read it. It's good.
But Michael, have you encountered any issues or troubles kind of trying to market Daddy's Boy? Because that book definitely falls into this this kind of like nebulous space that we're talking about, where it's like, if you describe it as a specific genre, it's leaving out so much of what is actually happening in the book.
I mean, the most succinct answer is yes. Yes, I have. It's an ongoing battle. I mean, when I'd written Daddy's Boy, it's like, okay, now what the hell do I do with this? And I mean, the first thing I did was I sent it to my film manager, Ryan Lewis, and his feedback was essentially, I absolutely love it. I don't know how I would sell it. And it's like, okay. So,
which is funny, because I can see the movie version in my head.
Right.
Like,
And
it plays very much like a farce, almost a crime farce horror thing.
I need to back up and add the caveat that Ryan specifically meant because he's well versed in the horror world and he has horror contacts, that he specifically isn't sure where to sell it. Not like, oh, I can't conceive of this very cinematic book being a film. It wasn't that, you'd probably have to reevaluate being in the film world if that were the case. But no, I do think as well, though, in terms of making it into a film, I've said this before, I really feel that I've put it out at the wrong time. I think in the noughties or the early 2010s, this would be perfect for the cinema. But in 2025, I'm not sure that people are, that there's an appetite, or there's a commercial enough appetite for a kind of 90 to 120 minute dick joke on the screen. We would all watch it, but, trying to sell that to Hollywood or to Netflix or Amazon for the 8-part series, I'm not sure that there's the appetite. But what I do believe is that, like, I believe there is a massive audience for Daddy's Boy. I firmly believe it, but I don't know how to find them. And I think that is the dilemma that so many of us writers have. And, particularly with House of Bad Memories and Daddy's Boy, as I've really kind of just become my more authentic self and my true self as a writer, I get largely glowing reviews, but it is just not going wide enough. And so that is the dilemma that I'm up against. I should probably say with Daddy's Boy, it is more divisive. That the House of Bad Memories, they were largely glowing reviews. Already I'm seeing people being polarizing with Daddy's Boy. I did anticipate that. I didn't think, oh no, I think this will be universally loved. No, I knew that this is going to definitely be a love it or hate it book. But yeah, as soon as I'd written it, every time I finish a novel, I think, is this the novel where I query agents or I query big publishers? Because to be honest, I'm really, really tired of doing this alone, and I would like to have an advocate. But I knew when I'd finished writing that the answer was a firm no, this isn't the book that you send to an agent. like I looked into it in the sense that I tried to look, is there a book that I even think is tangentially related to Daddy's Boy? Because if there was, then I can query that person's agent very specifically. But if I looked at the books that I suppose are in that world, either they were bizarro, and as you know, not a massive commercial appetite. That bizarro isn't the route to riches and becoming a millionaire. I wish it was. So okay, so that's one area. If I look at probably my favorite dark comedy writer, it's John Niven, but John Niven writes a very specific social satire. Like a number of his books are grounded in the 90s music industry. So there's something very specific going on. And I felt every book that I looked at, there's kind of an angle, there's a thing that they're critiquing and they're satirizing. And what Daddy's Boy is looking at is it's looking at familial relationships. It's looking at parenthood. It's looking at how far you would go for those that you love and what the limits are. But I don't feel that's not quite in vogue at the moment. It's like, what's the hook? What are you linking it to politically or socially at the moment? That's the kind of comedy where it might sell. So I immediately knew that this is an uphill battle. Um, and I decided, look, I'm going to independently put it out via This Is Horror. But even with this, there was a kind of conflict or an awareness, I suppose, because it's called This Is Horror, but I would argue, no, it fucking isn't. This is dark comedy. This is dark comedy with a hint of crime and a little splash of horror. This, this isn't really horror, which is not as catchy a podcast name. This isn't really horror. Um, so I kind of, as well, like for the last few years, my social media presence, This Is Horror and Michael David Wilson have all been one. And I had this kind of I don't want to be falsely advertising, as it were. Um, so I set up a separate Patreon to then have, okay, so now we've at least got one place that is Michael David Wilson specific, because I think there will be people who are fans of the podcast, but they're not fans of what I'm doing in terms of my writing, and vice versa. So I just wanted to test the waters and to have some distinction there. Um, I'm I think that Daddy's Boy, I have always known it is the absolute wild card. It's probably going to be the most comedic thing I will ever write. I might write things that are on that level, but I don't think it will go further. Whereas the previous book, House of Bad Memories, that's probably more, I suppose, a typical balance of what I'll do. So it's going to be horror or dark thriller or crime. And then there are a lot of jokes kind of peppered throughout it. I've said before, I guess, like I'd compare, or others have compared what I'm doing to a bit like Guy Ritchie or Quentin Tarantino. There's a dark vibe, there's humor within. Um, but now I'm at this point where I'm just trying to work out, okay, what's next? What is the next step for my career? And there's this endless battle between I want to do what I enjoy and what brings me joy. And that is without a doubt the primary reason for writing, because I want to do the thing that brings me fulfillment and feels authentic. But then the secondary reason, I want to make some fucking money. This is what I'm doing. This I have made every career decision staking my writing doing well. That is a bet that I placed like over a decade ago now that my writing would do well. And there's this realization, particularly when you've written something like Daddy's Boy, it's like, have I gone all in? And it's not going to financially work out. And I've been having that back and forth, but at the same time, you know, these are weird internal conversations that I'm having with myself. And it's like, well, let's say that financially it doesn't do as well as I wanted it to. Did I have joy in the pursuit of doing it? Am I happy every time I'm writing? And the answer is yes. Like, this is the thing that I enjoy the most. So then you've kind of won. Yes, I want to win financially too, but if you set it up so that you're enjoying and you're being true to yourself, then you're winning. It's a battle between creativity and commerce. And so, I mean, at the moment, I mentioned this on the previous podcast, but it's okay because we've already said that we're going to keep you up to speed on this one. And listeners can enjoy the refresher. I said that at the moment, you know, as I'd like an agent, I thought, well, I'm going to write a more kind of commercial supernatural thriller wrote in Japan. I planned it out and I thought this is a pretty good story, but I also thought this isn't a fucking Michael David Wilson story for right now. This is too safe. This isn't injecting what I kind of really enjoyed with House of Bad Memories and with Daddy's Boy. So I took like just the essence of that idea and I was like, okay, now MDW-ify it. And so now like I'm pitching that as Funny Games meets From Dusk Till Dawn with the supernatural undertones of The Ring. And yeah, it's predictably, as well as horror, got some of that dark crime. It's got humor. It's fast-paced dialogue. But this is what I fucking love. And I think as well, you know, if I'm going to trust that there's an audience for what I'm doing, then I have to be all in with that. Not like, oh, well, I trusted there was for the first 2 books, but now I'm out of here. No, I got to push all of the chips in and see what happens. So, goodness, maybe I answered your question there. I mean, I answered it initially with just like, yeah, it's been very difficult to market. I'm trying to work out what my next steps are, and I think we've just got to keep putting this work into the world that we believe in, and we got to hope that the right person sees it, and then they look at the entire back catalog, and then our fame is found and the money comes in. I don't know how else to do it, but to be honest, the way that I'm marketing this one is I'm mostly going on a load of podcasts because that's what I enjoy. And I'm planning to dabble with Amazon advertising because I've heard from people like Adam Neville and Dan Howarth that that's worked for them. But I've contacted a few people for reviews and stuff like that. But when I'm just spending my time like sending emails and stuff, it's just so unfulfilling. That's not what I want to do. That's part of why I've decided I want an agent. Because before I thought, well, all the things an agent does, I can do. I've got a lot of contacts because of This Is Horror. But the reality is, it's like, no, I don't want to do those things anymore. I want to write. That's all I want to do. I want to write. I want a podcast. I want to live my private life, and that's it. So the agent can gladly take a cut if it means I'm writing more and doing less of the writing tangential stuff. Don't know if any of that resonates with you.
No, it definitely does. I think the hardest part, too, about trying to find an agent, though, is you actually have to pitch your book to them. So that thing that you say is difficult to do and you don't want to do and you want this other person to do it for you, you actually have to figure out the absolute best way to convince one specific person that they want to now make this their problem, essentially. So it's a very frustrating process. I've reached out to agents before too in the past with books that I've written, and even when they've read it and liked it, it is that answer is like, I don't know what to do with it. Like, I don't know what to do with it. And it sucks too, because as an artist, because maybe it's because, we take chances on art more so than the general public. We look for new things and exciting things, go out of our way to find these things most of the time. Like, that people out there exist that want it, but people don't know that they want it because they don't know it exists. Or like, you don't have the magic words to convince them to look at it. To say, I'm going to spend $10. Or like, it's books. You don't got to spend anything. Get your library to order it. It could be completely free. It's like, it would be fine. But just to give someone, just to goose them enough to get them to do something. Like, especially if it's something weird, when we're talking the absurdism, when you're putting out something absurd, it's like, it is hard to describe because it can go in lots of different directions, and not just being weird, but like the tone can go in completely different directions too. And, I think people, aren't down for that, or they are down for it, but they don't know that they're down for it until they have it. It's like a paradox.
Yeah, and there's kind of so much to say about that. I mean, to begin with, I think I'm fairly good at convincing agents and publishers to read my work. I think I'm quite good at pitching them to read something, and I can write a compelling pitch, but I don't know if it ever really captures what I'm doing. So, for example, Daddy's Boy, I pitched as Shameless meets Guy Ritchie's The Gentleman with the incompetence of The Hangover. That sounds quite good. That sounds like it's got commercial potential. Yeah, but then you read it and you realize there's an absurd amount of sausages, both literal penises and actual cooked, frozen, supermarket butchers, all sorts of sausages. There's a lot about naked attraction. There's a lot of obscure 90s television references, and there's an argument to be made that it's a 75,000 word dick joke. So they read it, but then it's like, okay, how do you sell it honestly? How do you sell it giving the true nature as to what it is? And that goes a little bit back to what Bob was saying about the Dale Abyss horror line and them calling it cutting edge horror. There was a moment where when I was thinking about the marketing of Daddy's Boy, and I'm thinking, do I need to literally coin a new genre? And like I'm fucking William Shakespeare or something, just repeat it enough and with enough confidence that people are like, right, that is the genre. And then because I've coined it, every time they Google that term, my name comes up. I like the way that, sometimes people just put new in front because it's like, this is the new horror. This is the new bizarro. I did think for some time, what the fuck can I call this? And I was talking to my friend because I've got another problem with a Japanese book. It's like, do I call it Jazzaro? Because it's like fucking Bizarro in Japan, and it's like, don't call it Jazzaro. Oh, I don't fucking know what to do with this. Because I think comedy of errors or comedy of incompetence is probably the most accurate thing. Brian Asman in his blurb called it slacker noir. I did like that label, but also I don't want to have to come up with a new label every time I write a novel. It's like it's not going to catch on if I keep using a different genre. So yeah, I don't know what to call it.
I think it's like you got to do like the Joe Lansdale thing though, where like he's just all over the fucking place with his genres and his tones, and there's weird stuff, there's bizarro, there's western, there's horror, crime, it's all over. But like people just trust that it's going to be good. And it is. Every book I've ever read by him is good. Doesn't matter what genre it was great. But like he's built that trust, an audience that trusts that he's going to take them somewhere. And it's like, how do you find that? How do you become a Joe Lansdale type? How do you become your own genre? Like you said before, Bob, with Burroughs too. Like, how do you do that thing where like people hear your name and they go, I'm in. Like, I'm in. Oh, he wrote a book or she wrote a book. I'm in. Let's do it.
And even with Burroughs, there's like different eras, like, Naked Lunch, compared to, like you got his later books, that were the cut up novels, which is an art form into itself. It's hard to explain, but you took magazines and newspapers and things like that and cut out sentences and words and arranged them and combined them with the story and used those to make a story. And so it's an art form, but even then they still didn't know how to describe it other than calling, it was obscene. It was probably the biggest thing that got him going. It's like, hey, he had obscenity trials, and it's like, same thing with Henry Miller, which, could definitely fall into some of his work, especially stream of consciousness stuff would be definitely absurd. When you said something about, your honest comps, you can't, you gotta do your comps commercially. I mean, you can't go, this is the Greasy Strangler mixed with Sushi Girl, but
Right,
which people would get.
Yeah, I want, to be more honest, would have not even been the Greasy Strangler, but would have been Come to Daddy, which is a more obscure film.
Yes.
That Toby Harvard, the writer of the Greasy Strangler, wrote. That would be the most honest like comp. And it's like, okay, so you wrote a book with Daddy in that I haven't heard of, and then you comped it with another title with Daddy in that I haven't heard of, so it doesn't mean anything.
But for people who've seen that movie, like I Come to Daddy, I fucking love that. I've watched that movie multiple times. I love that movie. I think it's so good. I hear that, I would get super excited. Like, there's enough people out there that would get that. It's just that there's not a pool that they're all sitting in. They're just like spread out little loner weirdos, like just waiting for your lighthouse to call them home, like.
But this is exactly it. There are so many loner weirdos. We just need to get them all together to fucking read our stuff.
We had the same issue with their watching because, I told, Michael was like, hey, this is, very, very much inspired by Body Double. And it's like, well, we could use it as a prompt. He's like, I've never seen it. I'm like, oh, dear Lord, you should watch Body Double. Oh my God. And then he's seen it and he was like, oh, it's perfect. I was like, yes, of course it's fucking perfect. I have a similar issue with the Small Hours. It's comped as Fright Night meets Suicide Kings. Everyone's seen Fright Night. 3 people saw Suicide Kings, which is a great movie. And so, even at Ghoulish Fest, when I did my reading, Max made me explain what Suicide Kings was. And so, it's like, okay, it's a film. It had Christopher Walken in it, but I think that having at least one commercial comp like Fright Night combined with something that's kind of obscure is how you get away with being honest in your comps. Because face it, comps aren't going away. You just, you got to, it's almost like an industry standard now. And so I hate it, but we got to, we have to use it.
I don't know if I hate it because it is at least a shorthand that's quite effective and we can just do it quickly,
Yes.
rather than it's like two weirdos and they like sausages and their dreams to be on Naked Attraction. And what are you talking about?
I think the next time I'm pitching to an agent, I'm just going to look up whatever their favorite stuff is and say my book is that, no matter what my book is, and just to get them to fucking read it. And then maybe they'll be like, yes, okay. Like
this is Schindler's List, but with dick jokes.
Yeah, that's what everybody wants.
This is Schindler's List mixed with Hell's Kitchen.
Oh my God.
And they're like, Hell's Kitchen? Yeah, Gordon Ramsay. Yeah, there we go.
He's like the Hitler.
Yeah.
Okay, I was going to have Gordon Ramsay or Schindler, but yeah.
You can go either way,
This is risky territory, but if you like risky territory, then you should read our fiction, is what we're ultimately trying to say here. When you made your original point, Danger, I had many tangents and thoughts to jump off on, and of course they've invariably jumped out of my head now.
We didn't really talk about the absurd at all. We've been talking a lot about marketing our unmarketable books. So, I don't know if that's something we even need to dive into at this point.
I mean, in terms of the absurd, who would you say are your favorite absurdist authors? Let's start there.
I mean, I've talked about this many times, but Kurt Vonnegut's my favorite author. I wouldn't call him an absurdist necessarily, but he is definitely using those kinds of... he's definitely pulling from the same pot there, but when I think of true absurdism, not necessarily comedic absurdism, but absurdism is in the fact of the universe is a cold place where things aren't going to work out or make sense. And the only thing we can do is sit back and throw our hands up and say, that's what it is, man. There are, one of my favorite books, and at least one that I know most people who listen to this have read, is The Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka, which is an early version, I guess. If people go, what's Bizarro? And they don't have any idea of what I'm talking about, I'll say Alice in Wonderland and The Metamorphosis. Kind of two different versions of the same thing. One's kind of whimsical and, maybe made for children, but, a little more light. And then the other one is the universe is not going to explain why you're a bug. You're just this. And then no one knows how to relate to you, and then you die. These are the two sides of the same coin, though. I think a lot about, because I use humor too, just like you, Michael. I use a lot of humor in my writing, but I don't necessarily think of my books a lot of times as comedies, because the themes are not usually very funny that I'm dealing with, and the comedy and the jokes are there to kind of sweeten the pot a little bit, or make people be like, oh man, I keep losing my train of thought.
If I think about, some of your books, and if I think of Puppet Skin, for example, the humor is that the concept is funny, but everything you do is not played for laughs. It's played completely straight. And actually, the situation that the protagonist Hannah is in, it's a fucking awful situation. It's terrible. It is horror. That's a very difficult one to describe, actually, in terms of genre. I mean, it's kind of horror meets bizarro meets absurdism, which isn't a genre. But
it's like when you're on this like edge, right? And so if you're writing with absurdism in mind, like the universe doesn't care. Like that's the jumping off point of all absurdism. The universe doesn't care about you, and it's not going to give you answers for all the questions that you want, and you're just going to have to deal with it. So you're on this edge, and it's a very narrow precipice, and you're walking along it, and the story's going along, and if you lean one way, you laugh, right? You go, oh my God, like nothing matters. Like, who cares? Like, let's just have a good time then. And if you lean the other way, it's like pure cosmic horror. Like, you go, oh my God, nothing matters and we're screwed. Like, so that edge is like a very fine line, I think, to walk on. It's something I'm always constantly trying to do. So like you're playing with these tones of like tilting back and forth between, is it funny or is it the most like upsetting thing I could possibly think of? You know, like that there's no meaning to anything seems to me is true horror. Like, but at the same time, there's a freedom in it too, where you're like, well, if nothing matters, then anything is permissible, you know?
I feel that what we're doing kind of brings to mind just the cliche that, like, well, if you don't laugh, then you'll cry. And then throughout the reading and the writing experience, there's going to be times where you're laughing and times when you're crying and times maybe where you're simultaneously doing both. And it's like you literally can choose to laugh or to cry at any given moment. And yeah, I mean, when I pitched this episode to you, I said, we're talking about absurdism and also talking about, we've written these weird fucking things that are in between the cracks of genre. Now, how the fuck do we sell or market them? So that's why we've concentrated a little bit also on the marketing. I'm not even sure at this point what the episode is going to be called. Just like three fucking boys shoot their shit on life and genre and absurdism. But in terms of, you asked me about, selling and where to place it. I mean, I kind of had this panic as well, because it's like for over a decade, I've set myself up as like I'm the horror guy, and it's like, well, why the fuck did you form something called This Is Horror when ironically you have never fucking written straight horror? You've never written that. It's always like trended towards dark comedy. So I did worry, and it kind of put me off for a while even writing, that like I was accidentally falsely advertising. I'd fucked myself over. And I mean, even, when I sent the book to you, one of your first reactions, which I loved, by the way, was, I didn't expect it to be this fucking funny. And so, I mean, I think just in terms of having this platform called This Is Horror, so I'm trying to work out how do I market, or how do I show people like, yes, I love horror and I host This Is Horror and we do the horror awards and everything related to that. That's one side of me, but also I write some funny fucking books. How do I even do that?
I mean, horror and comedy are similar in a lot of ways, right? You're setting up a punchline for both. One come follow, you set it up, a laugh follows, or you set it up and a scare follows. Either way, the setup and the ending is the same thing, right? Like, so I don't know. I don't know how you sell it or explain that to people in a way that they get it, but like, for those who know, they know.
Yeah. Yeah, and in terms of the genre that I'm writing whatever you and Max Booth, and now recently with Say Uncle, Ryan C. Bradley, and probably Luke Condor is writing. That's the genre I'm in. Not got a name yet. It's called good fucking fiction that'll make you laugh.
It's a little bit of a mouthful, all that.
Yeah.
Maybe just good fiction.
Yeah.
I don't think that you need to explain anything. I don't think that to me, it's like, hey, okay, so I guess because I'm just a co-host. I haven't been the face of This Is Horror for going on 12, 13 years now, 600 episodes.
Look at everyone listening, look at the image. Your face is literally on
I know
the
there.
image,
I
Bob.
know that. But what I'm saying is that it's like but it's you, right? And it's like if I was doing the same thing, and if someone came up to me and said, "Hey, well, you do all this horror stuff, but then you write funny shit," I was like, okay, so. I mean, what does that have to do with anything? In other words, don't make it a problem. Because it's not a problem. I don't think anyone's going to call you out on it. It's just, to me, that's silly. Someone's going to call, he does a whole website, but he writes a funnies. They're not going to do that shit. That's just silly. And if they do, they can come talk to me, and I'll set them straight.
I will say that when I get those, and we were talking about this at the top of the episode, when I get these reviews where people with a divisive book, and you said Daddy's Boy's kind of landing in this before, is already landing here, where like people either are going to love it or like not get it and hate it, or it just didn't give them what they wanted. And like I have this thing where I like, you get a bad review, and I know it's hard for a lot of writers to see that kind of stuff. It's not hard for me because I go, well, that person's a fucking idiot. Like I immediately go, they don't know shit. What the hell are they talking about? Like I'm sorry the book wasn't what you wanted it to be, but like it is what it is. Like so there is that part of me that's like, that is kind of like that, I do want to be able to give people something that they want, but also I'm like, well, no, I'm making my thing, and if you don't like it, like, piss off.
No, I think it's a good way to be.
I wish I had like a real clear like picture of that, but I am like kind of all over the place. I'm like, love me, but also if you don't, fuck you. Like it's like, I don't know. It's a problem.
I feel that that's how a lot of writers honestly are. And, we've said countless times before that you can't write to please everyone. Or if you do, you will write the most generic, archetypal, boring story ever. And in doing that, you won't please everyone, because you won't please me. So you might as well just write what you want to write and what is authentically you and what you fucking enjoy. If you can't make yourself laugh, you won't make others. If you can't make yourself get scared, then you're not going to make others be scared of it either. You have to write with some honesty.
If I could give one piece of advice to anyone listening, it would be to get weird. Just get weird with it. Like, you might be holding yourself back because you don't think it's going to, it's not horror enough. It's not this enough. It's not that. Like, that is like such a creativity killer. It's exactly what you're saying, Michael. Like, I want people to listen to this and be like, that idea that I thought was too out there, or that plot point that I said that's not realistic, or it's strange credulity or whatever. Like, nah, make it work. If that's what you're feeling, make it work. Like, you have our permission to get weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely, considering the timeline that we're in right now, it's like, if you think that your idea might not float, read the fucking news.
Yeah.
Just read the news and think back 5-6 years ago going, they'll never have anything like this. Then you realize, hey, my weird idea fucking flies, man. It soars. It sinks. Fucking go too weird. Just like Danger said, be dangerous. Go too
Be
go
dangerous.
be dangerous. It's like
You got some they live stuff going on there, Bob.
yeah. But I mean, here's the thing. It's like write the shit that makes them clutch their pearls. I mean, come on. If you're not going to do it now, when are you going to do it?
So, I mean, in terms of your current project, so are you working on the Western set in the 1800s now, or was that the book that you just finished?
No, I think I talked in the last episode about the book I was writing then, which is about this like yuppie couple that were trapped in their house with these umbilical cords attached to them.
You were, yeah. It's just because you mentioned the Western book, so I'm just trying to get a picture of the timeline here. So
I finished that one.
So the Western book is done.
No, the Western ones I'm working on.
Okay, the umbilical cord book
is done.
Is not doing it justice. That's like you sold us on it in the last episode, so people can go back and listen if they want to know what that's all about.
I don't have a publisher or anything. I don't really know what's happening with it, but it's written, and it's done. And I don't know about you guys, but I don't really take breaks. I just go from one project to the other. I love doing this, so I don't want to take a break. I just want to do it as much as possible. So the second I finish something, literally the next day I'm working on something new.
I mean, for me too, like sometimes not even the next day. It's like, this book is done, right? Well, we've got an hour of writing time left. Let's start a new one. And there's some, I think, as I've said before, everyone should do whatever they want to do. But there's some people who they'll be like, I finished, let's take a month off to recharge, or let's celebrate it. And if that works for you, then great, definitely do that. But for me, I can simultaneously celebrate, yeah, it's fucking done. Yeah, that's probably my celebration. And then also go on to the next one, because there's too many fucking weird ideas that I have and not enough time as it is. I can't afford to take a month's break.
Yeah, the celebration is you finally get to work on that other idea that you've been sitting on for months.
That is the reward. Yeah. So at the moment, you finish the umbilical cord book. You're working on the Western. I think you said that you have a film manager. Do you have an agent as well?
It's complicated, but she was a film, like a book to rights agent, and now she's stopped doing that and is now my production partner. So we're still working together, but she's taking a more involved role than an agent would. She's actually helping put everything together to the point of we're going to actually see what we could do. So we've been working with Starlit. I wrote a script for it, and we have a pitch deck and stuff, and we've been on it for months. So this is just about ready to go. We're swinging big. She knows a lot of people from when she was an agent. So we're just going to get it out there and see what happens.
And so she was a film agent, or she was a literary agent, or she was both?
She was a book to rights agent. So she worked.
Okay. No,
so she didn't sell books, but she sold books to studios, essentially.
Okay. Yeah.
Like IP.
Yeah.
But now she's a production, as a producer. So that's kind of, she's essentially doing the same role with a lot more, but also is a lot more involved. I'm getting feedback from her with my script. She's giving me the notes, being we need to do this, to do this, to do this, to make sure these people see it, and that's the right move there. So very minutia oriented with her, instead of I would imagine a book to write agent or what she was doing before, which is kind of sending the book out to people and being like, if you like it, we'll talk. Now we're actually pitching a movie with like all together.
She's a lot more hands-on than she was in the past.
I think I think it's much better for me, but also it's a lot slower process because now we need to. It's not just sending the book to people and seeing who writes back, essentially, or even reads it. It's now like we're doing the whole idea.
Right.
Like, here's what the movie would look like. Here's our vision. And we're working as almost partners. The genesis is all my book, but we're working as far as the movie goes as partners.
So, like, once you finish the book, then you'll work with her to look at if this can be made into a movie and what the options are. So that's kind of the film side of things. What do you do in terms of the next steps, in terms of publishing it, in terms of the book? Does she help you out with that, or is this something you do? Okay, so
yeah, no, she doesn't. She doesn't do that at all.
Yeah. So then, so that bit is solely on you. You can't kind of ask her who do you think it would be good to to sell to, because she's like, well, I don't fucking know. I'm not in that world.
Yeah, I mean, she worked with a literary agency, which is how she got the books that she was pitching to these studios. They would send them to her. Like, they'd be like, here's your books, like, go sell these. But like, whenever I ask her that kind of stuff, she's like, I don't like, she turned me on to one person one time and they read my book. And then this was a couple years ago. They read the book that I sent them. And then they gave me like so many changes that I was like, you don't want the book that I sent you. You have a very clear idea of what you want. It's not what I gave you. And I'm not going to spend the next 8 months retrofitting this thing into that, because like, that's not what I wrote. So it didn't even work out. So I like you have been on my own with every book, like reaching out to the publishers myself or whomever, and trying whatever I can.
Yeah, I mean, my general process is like, when the book is finished, I'll like kind of start at the top in terms of looking at, okay, who are the biggest publishers, and then looking at their back catalog and being like, is there any conceivable way that they would publish Daddy's Boy, for example? But also thinking about, if I approach somebody like, let's say, Penguin Random House, if it's my first time, then I want it to count. I don't want it to be like, look, he sent us the dick joke book, don't read the next thing, because there might be something I have in the future. But this didn't feel like a Penguin Random House or a Simon and Schuster or a Pan Macmillan. But I will look at the top. I will look at like, okay, what is the most comedic thing that has been written, for one of these publishers, and do I think I stand a chance? And most of the time it comes down to like, it's gonna be like a more independent press, or it might be somebody like Titan, because I find Titan, they take bigger risks than other kind of traditional publishers. But yeah, it's a weird position to be in, but I'm systematically going through things. And I think up to Daddy's Boy, it was like, look, if I don't feel that the small press can do a better job than I can do, then I'll just put it out independently. But I've got to a point now where because my time is worth so much more, it's like, I think I'm probably going to be publishing less via This Is Horror, and just more going with small presses. I don't want the time. all the kind of like, obviously, I'm not deluded. I know that we have to market our own books. There will be a lot of marketing still on my end, but if I got someone else publishing it, I don't have to do the formatting. I don't have to do the accounting. I don't have to contact so many reviewers. It can help, but I don't know. I want to be writing these weird things. That's what I want to do. That's kind of where I'm at the moment.
Well, I have faith in Daddy's Boy. I think it's going to do great. So.
I hope so. It comes back to what I said. I think if there are a lot of Daddy's Boys out there that would love to read this book. I just need to find them. Just put like an advertisement in, I don't know, Times Square. Are you a Daddy's Boy? If so, contact me. That's going to get the wrong people.
Do you have a weird relationship with your father? Yeah. Here's a book for you.
Yeah.
I think that just seeing the awesome cover art, if I didn't even know anything about the book, seeing the cover art, I'd be like, okay, this isn't something I normally would read, but I'm going to read, the backup. I'm going to read the first paragraph if I'm in a bookstore. And I've even, and Michael knows this, is not typically the type of book I would like to read. Though I do like snappy dialogue and I do write it myself, I tend to get burned out by it very quickly. But reading Daddy's Boy, I didn't get burned out on it at all because it was lively. It kept the story going. It was integral to the characters. It wasn't dialogue for dialogue's sake. It was just, it fits. It gels. It's all pitch perfect. And so if I read this book, not knowing anything about Michael, not knowing anything about This Is Horror, I would definitely pick this book up if I seen that cover and read that first paragraph, and I'd be like, yeah, I'm buying this book. Because it's just so fucking crazy. It's like, I want to see how they pull this off, So, I mean, I think that if you can get that cover out there, then, get somebody at some good bookstores and then put it in bookstores and have it out facing, There you go.
Or something that those people on Instagram want to share on their book or book talk or whatever, want to share, like, cause you got a cool cover. They're like, oh, we should take pictures of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the Bookstagram community, I reached out quite a lot for my last few releases. I kind of reached out to a few people here, but I'm so burnt out, with everything. And also, like, because it's such a kind of love or hate book, there is literally, whoever I send it to, there's a 50-50 chance as to what the fuck they're going to think about this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but a bunch of people being like, hey, look at this awesome cover. The book sucks, but the cover is great. You don't want that.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Like, you want to find the right people. I get what you're saying.
But you also should lean in. I mean, here's the thing, too, that I've seen, and it's worked, is that if you get like a really crappy review or something like that, post it on social media, take their name out and use it to your advantage. Because I have personally bought books that have gotten 1 star. This book sucked because X. And I'm like, fuck, I want to read that. That's right up my alley. What are you talking about? I'm buying that book right now out of spite, really, but I'm going to read it, And so if it's made me, who I don't have all the money in the world, but I will buy a book if I get interested. If something like that made me buy a book, then it can make other people do it too.
Yeah, I mean, probably the biggest criticism will be too many dick jokes, and I'd make the argument that you can never have too many dick jokes.
Exactly. Yeah.
Should have just packed one more into that story.
Yeah.
But in terms of, this umbilical cord book, I want it out in the world. Is it with multiple publishers at the moment?
No, I don't want to get too into like the theoretical of like where it is and isn't. It's with a publisher right now. I'm still waiting on a yes or no from them. So, it's someone I've worked with before, so I sent it to them first.
Yeah.
It's like being like, if you like this, we have a great relationship. Let's go with it. If not, then I'll kind of weigh my options and see what's going on from there.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I wondered if, I guess the question I was trying to ask was whether you kind of systematically send to one publisher, or if you just like send to multiple at a time. But I tend to find if I've worked with someone, I want to just send it to them because I don't know, it feels awkward if I send to two that I've worked with previously, and then I have to let one down if they both come back with a yes. That's another good reason to get an agent. It's like, well,
Yeah.
I didn't fucking know they were gonna send it to all five of you.
Like, and once you get past the like your little wish list of like publishers or agents you want to send it to, like if you're not getting responses, yes, like this has happened to me before. Then I just start blanketing. Like let me cast the net wider and throw a few things out and see what's happening, and then wait for those, and then throw more out, and like so like it does kind of work with like where I want to start, and just start keeps getting wider and wider to like someone pick this up at some point. Yeah, it'd be great.
All right. Well, do you have any kind of films or books that we haven't mentioned that you'd like to recommend to people who are like looking to get into either absurd fiction or dark comedies or bizarro, any of this kind of weird, I guess, between the fringes work that we've been talking about?
Sure. I mean, I'll throw some movie recs out. Like it's easy for me. I love movies, so I watch them all the time. But um, anything written by Charlie Kaufman or directed by the Coen brothers would. These are like my favorite people. So Charlie Kaufman, if you don't know, is Being John Malkovich and Eternal Sunshine of Spotless Mind and Schenectady, New York, and these like surreal movies that are kind of dark. They're funny, but they're not like when I watched Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, it's a horror. It's actually a horror movie. I know it's like kind of a deconstructed rom-com, but the way it's presented and what it's saying is 100% a horror movie. So they're really Charlie Kaufman's really good at kind of working those different tones, and kind of giving you more, like you expect something from his movies. You go, oh, this is going to be a wild ride, but giving you more, at least in terms of theme or character or whatever the case is, just giving you more than you expected, and they're always satisfying. And even if you don't like the movie at the end, they're at least interesting. And then the Coen brothers, I think the kind of thesis of almost all of their movies is that the universe doesn't care about outcomes necessarily. Like, so they lean heavily into the absurd. Sometimes they play it more comedic with like Raising Arizona or like the Hudsucker Proxy or something, or the Big Lebowski. And sometimes they play it a lot more serious, like No Country for Old Men or Inside Llewyn Davis or something. But all of these movies, literally everyone that I just mentioned, the thesis is we live in a universe where right and wrong aren't trading off one to one. And if you want to find meaning, you're going to have to work at figuring it out for yourself, because the world isn't there to provide easy answers for you. So, and that is kind of what absurdism is to me. And I feel like they are really great at kind of expressing that.
Yeah, I think they're wonderful recommendations. And and anytime the Coen brothers have a movie out, that's an instant watch, because you know that however you feel about it, whether you love it or whether you like it, because I don't know if I ever hate it, but wherever it feels on the like to love scale, there's going to be something interesting and provocative in the sense of thought provoking. Like it's gonna stick with me, and there's gonna be ideas that continue for months. So yeah, and very rewatchable as well. You're gonna get different things on multiple viewings.
I like that you said Brian Asman described Daddy's Boy as slacker noir, because I'm like, well, that's basically what The Big Lebowski is. Also,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
it's like a noir movie where like the guy is just kind of like floating through it, like what the hell's happening, because he's like stoned, like
yeah, yeah. The Big Lebowski might be my favorite Coen Brothers movie, but I almost feel like a cliche to say that. But sometimes it's popular for a reason. There's a reason why so many people love that. Kind of not fully absurdist, but almost like flirting in that direction. Paul Thomas Anderson movies are always very kind of thought provoking too. And when you were talking about stuff like Being John Malkovich, I was thinking about structurally how Paul Thomas Anderson movies are put together in a similar way, particularly taking something that could on the surface be lighter, like the kind of rom-com with Eternal Sunshine, and then just really creating a horror story is what they're doing.
well, like not No Country for Old Men. There Will Be Blood is like it is a horror story. Like this guy is in this kind of like his greed is his own prison in a lot of ways and alienates him from everybody else in the world. And, it's not set up like with scares or anything, but if you think about conceptually, like what that is doing to him in his soul, like that's horrible. It's like the most horrifying thing. Like you're like, you can't even get out of your own way and save yourself because you're so blinded by this ambition and this greed. Like, yeah, it's great stuff.
Well, thank you for chatting with us this evening. Always fun. We have, jumped into so many topics. So we've been all over the place.
I know,
but
dude. I don't know if this is. I don't know if this is me, but that's just kind of how all of my conversations go. I can't fucking focus on anything. Sometimes my girlfriend's like, she's like, you started answering some question that I didn't ask, and you're like talking in the middle of it. Like, and I'm just like, what? Like, because I didn't even realize, because I've been thinking about other things, and she says a thing, and it leads to this thought, which leads to this thought. And I have this cascading thing to the thing that I eventually say has nothing to do with where we were before. So, yeah, this conversation has bounced.
Yeah, but this happens with me too. So maybe putting us together is a fucking disaster. It's like, well, both of them spoke for a long time. I'm not sure if either ever answered a single question. But
I know. Anytime you ask me something, like halfway through my answering, I'm like, this isn't what he asked. Like I have that thought in my head. I'm like, I'm just saying something completely different. But
yeah,
at least I'm saying something.
There you go. Because, you can't have dead air on radio or on the podcast, so we just keep talking, even if irrelevant. But I mean, which is a criticism of myself, not of you, of course. But do you have any final thoughts, any recommendations, any requests to our listeners and viewers before we end this one?
I'm telling all your listeners to read Daddy's Boy. So, I mean, that's my request.
All right, then my request is to read Starlet by Danger Slater. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for listening to This Is Horror Podcast. If you enjoy the show and want to support us, then please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/thisishorror. You'll get early bird access to each and every episode, and you can submit questions to the interviewee. You'll also automatically become a member of the This Is Horror Discord. And every year, there are bonus episodes for patrons only, such as Story Unboxed, the horror podcast on the craft of writing, in which Bob and I, and sometimes a special guest, will dissect a short story or film and let you know writing lessons and takeaways to improve your own writing. Another great way to support us is to leave us a review on the Apple Podcast app or website. And if you want to watch the video version of the This Is Horror podcast, join us on YouTube, youtube.com/@thisishorrorpodcast. You can subscribe there and get notified every time there is a new video. And however you support us, I thank you in advance. Okay, before I wrap up, a quick advert break.
It was as if the video had unzipped my skin, slunk inside my tapered flesh, and become one with me.
From the creator of This Is Horror comes a new nightmare for the digital age, The Girl in the Video by Michael David Wilson. After a teacher receives a weirdly arousing video, his life descends into paranoia and obsession. More videos follow, each containing information no stranger could possibly know. But who's sending them, and what do they want? The answers may destroy everything and everyone he loves. The Girl in the Video is The Ring meets Fatal Attraction for the iPhone generation. Available now in paperback, ebook, and audio.
A brutal attack during a peaceful drive through the Irish countryside sets the stage for a grotesque tale of body horror, medical abuse, and occult conspiracy theory. Puppet's Banquet by Valkyrie LaCrue. Clay McLeod Chapman calls it a blissful injury upon the reader's psyche. Fans of Silent Hill, Hellraiser, and Cronenberg's The Brood will be consumed by its exquisite nightmares. Puppet's Banquet, out May 14th. Visit tenebraspress.com for more information.
Well, that's almost all we've got time for. Next episode, we'll be welcoming back Jasper Bark, and we'll be talking about dark comedy. As I've been saying all this week, getting early sales for Daddy's Boy and early reviews is really vital. So please do consider buying it. It's available on Amazon. It's available at the This Is Horror shop at thisishorror.co.uk. And after you're done reading it, leave a review on Goodreads and or Amazon. And whatever you think, whether you love it, whether you hate it, whether you fall somewhere in between, I appreciate your reading it. I appreciate you leaving a review. And we can still be friends. It doesn't need to be awkward if you didn't like it. But if you did love it, well, boy oh boy, I'll write some more Daddy's Boy related fiction, and we can all have a good time, maybe over some frozen sausages. Okay, until next time, with Jasper Bark, talking about dark comedy. Take care of yourselves, be good to one another, read horror, keep on writing, and have a great, great day.
This is Horror Podcast.